what do they call themselves? Oxford Institute for British Islam.
Well, that's where I actually physically met Edip anyway.
All right. So you were there personally? Okay.
Yes, I was there personally because I'd missed the opportunity to meet Edip a few years back.
Okay.
And so he was the main reason actually I went there. He doesn't know this.
Oh, well, now he knows.
I think his audio is not working. So
I see.
The secret is still safe.
All right.
Yeah, no, it attracted me,
Okay.
the fact there would be like-minded people.
We are going to start now, if you, okay.
Yeah, we were just doing a social chit-chat.
Don't worry. Salam.
We are right now live. Yes, this Microsoft, I hate Microsoft Word. And when they change the system, right now they mess up my whole settings. And I'm telling people right now, they're watching, therefore, multiple times from Zoom when I am transferring to YouTube, and it doesn't allow me the old ways I used to do. They change it to their own browser, and then they play games. I hate Bill Gates. They do all the time. They are forcing themselves. Shame on them. Anyway.
I think they got the message.
15, 20 minutes I have been trying to fix it. Just the last minute you cannot fix it. You don't know where is the problem. And finally I was able to use another venue to do it. Welcome people. I really apologize for this.
Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Technical delay. Well, you are in Malaysia all the way. And
That's right.
you're in London and
in Manchester.
Welcome everyone. Okay. Let me try to share this one through Twitter, and let's running study. Okay. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, people. Where did we live?
Alaikum salam.
Yes. Where did we live?
We're going to have to get you a fancy microphone.
Is my Microsoft fancy now? It is. I have a fancy microphone.
Oh, that's a serious microphone.
Yes, serious, a heavy one. Okay, let's open where we left. Do you remember where we left?
We're ready for 255.
Okay, who would like to continue reading 255? Let me project it here. Okay, we need to cut it today a little bit short because this Microsoft really agitated me. Okay, 255, it is here. By the way, on the side, do you see, what do you see in terms of the picture? Do you see your own or my arrangement? Because on the right side is covering part of the verse. What about yours?
Yeah, same here.
Yes.
I know, but is my choice affecting you or not? What about now? Did you see any change?
No.
Okay, that means you need to change yours.
We are able to drag it around. Yeah, we can move the pictures around.
Okay, that means mine is only for me, not for you. Therefore, I was wondering about that. Okay, yeah, last week we talked about one of the most important points that God says, do not be deviated, do not be distracted by frivolous questions, correct? God wants us to question claims and about statements, allegations about God, about religion, wants us to question our ancestor, question the crowd, question the establishment, reason, use our reason. However, regarding questioning details, in ritualistic details, there is a major kind of warning about that in the Quran. And in the beginning, regarding the color of the heifer and the age of the heifer, those kind of frivolous questions, the purpose is of the clergyman is to distract you from the most important issues, correct? That was the beginning of chapter 12, chapter 2, God pulls our attention. Now, verse 255, please go ahead. If someone wants to continue, please feel free.
When you said, O Moses, we will not acknowledge you until we see God openly. The lightning bolt took you while you were staring.
Oh, I have the Turkish one there.
I'll continue from the book. Then he resurrected you after your death, that you may be appreciative.
Okay.
And I think
it's here.
So it's says, I'm not sure who they're talking to. When you said, "O Moses," and then it's addressing you again in the next, we resurrected you after death that you may be appreciative. I think that's talking about everyone in this in 56, but I'm not sure on 55.
Very interesting is when you said, "O Moses, will not acknowledge you until we see God openly," the lightning bolt took you while you were still staring. It seems for a moment they died, and then God resurrected them. They became unconscious, or they died. It seems kind of they became unconscious with the lightning bolt, and then we resurrected you, bring you to conscious level after your death, that you may be appreciative. It appears to be they were they experienced death, but of course this will be very exceptional one. I don't know whether this time because the Quran talks about general two deaths and two life.
Edip, Quran also describes metaphorically death of people who are without, without awareness of their creator. Another resemblance of death is sleep. So the sleep is also described as death. So I think, it's more likely that they were knocked unconscious with this event, which is, to all purposes, they are dead. So that's probably an easier way of seeing it rather than seeing that.
Of course, metaphor comes to my mind, but before metaphor, if the literal meaning appears to be impossible or creates a problem, then I go to metaphor. If there is literal understanding is okay within the context, I prefer the literal meaning than the metaphor. Of course, context is, but it is open to your understanding too, Tanvir. That could be metaphorically that God revived them from kind of by saving from slavery. But here before the previous verse about the lightning bolt, almost will not acknowledge you until we see God openly. That means they experienced something extraordinary when they asked to see God, and they were hit by something. They couldn't withstand God's light because we live in lowly universe, lowly heaven. We cannot withstand God's presence. Yes, it appears to be that meaning is a preferred meaning.
It's quite possible for people to be knocked unconscious with an overwhelming event such as a lightning strike.
Okay.
It's also in medical experience when they've tested people, it looks like they flatline and are dead. And then after a bit, they regain, they report in medical that it seems like people come back to life after they're declared dead.
Okay. Yeah. I see. Now I know what I am doing right now is better. Okay. Okay, 57.
We shaded you with clouds and sent down to you manna and quails. Eat from the goodness of the provisions we have provided you. They did not wrong us, but they wronged themselves. So I'm not sure if this is referring to where they're asking for the other foods, where the Israelis wanted the foods back in Egypt and didn't accept the food that was sent down and provided.
Yeah, it may be kind of a limitation in terms of variety of the food they had, because in other words, they complain about the routine of the same diet, and they miss variety of vegetables and other food there in Egypt, correct? And God also criticized them for choosing food over freedom, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the part of the verse is la'allakum tashkurun, meaning so that you would be more appreciative. So it highlights the fact that they were not appreciative of what great victory they already had by being freed from this slavery. They were probably cooking in the kitchens of the Egyptians all their life, and maybe they try to eat a variety of food, as servants. And now this is what they are missing in comparison to the freedom that they have.
Yeah. Recently, I am dealing with refugees, a lot of refugees coming from Turkey. Now, many people, anyone who has chance, not anyone, majority of people, when they have chance, they want to leave Turkey. It is turned into hell by waving the scripture and waving the flag. Unfortunately, it is a hell. And they are escaping, some of them to United States and Europe and also Canada. Those who come to United States, they keep calling me. And a few of them, they were in El Paso in refugee camp. They are held over there under whatever observation. And then he called me, he says, they ask us to put bail money. I don't know, about $10,000, $15,000. And since I sponsored multiple people, and I said, I don't have that much money to give. And also, even if I had $1 to bail you out, I wouldn't, because you need to stay there, pay the price of freedom. You are free, I said. Stay there. And I said, do you know English? No. Okay, you don't know English. Are you college graduate? No. Then I said, what are you doing there? Is there a place? Is there roof on your head? Yes. Is there food there? Yes, they are feeding you. And is there TV over there? Yes, there is TV too. Are they beating you? I said, like they beat me in Turkish prison? No, they are very good. Then what are you looking for? You should be paying them money to keep you there. I said, watch TV, learn English, get books, and volunteer for the work there. Go wash the dishes, clean up the place, learn something, and improve yourself. Stay there for 1 year. Don't give me a call, I said. Honestly, you come here from hell, and then I know he wants to become free, but goodness sake, you will go out, and here it is. You have a place, at least you are in a country, you are not killed or tortured because of your religion or ethnicity. correct? Anyway, that is some of my experience with people. 58.
We said, enter this town and eat from it as plentiful as you wish, and enter the gate humbly and talk amicably. We will then forgive your mistakes, and we will increase for the good doers.
MashaAllah. Leslie, here we translated humbly the word sujjadan. Sajda means to prostrate. It is a sign of humility, especially towards God, correct? But here I didn't translate it as prostrating, enter the gate prostrating. It seems kind of physical prostration here is not meant. And in fact, prostration means really spiritual and mental acceptance and humility. And physical may follow that. It may not exclude physical prostration, but primary meaning of sajda means to obey without question, correct? And here, since they are entering their parents' okay, to them, to enter the gate of a country and humbly and obeying the laws. That is my understanding. Is there a problem with this? Tanvir?
No, I think, in fact, this word has been distorted in most of the translation as prostration, because Muslims are obsessed with the idea wherever sajda is mentioned, it means putting your head on the ground. That is not the case. I agree with you. The term is about complete submission to God's laws, his framework of ethics and values that he's given you. And one of those is be humble and friendly. So that's what it's saying. Enter this city, so that you will be befriended and welcomed in the city if you are humble rather than triumphant and trying to rule over other people and oppress other people. So these are the true values expressed by this word. So I agree with you. In fact, prostration is more likely to be misunderstood and is regularly misunderstood and mistranslated. So I much prefer what you've said here about humbly submissive to God's laws.
MashaAllah. Do you remember in chapter 12, chapter called Joseph?
Yeah.
Did Jacob also tell his children to enter Egypt sujjadan?
Yeah, sujjadan.
Okay, that shows you are going to another country and you need that country. You don't go as a kind of in a challenging way, arrogant way.
Yeah.
You go there, you kind of follow their laws if they are not really very bad laws, correct?
Yeah.
And you become a citizen of that country. I think that is another divine instruction for us, that you go to a country and you abide by their rules.
Yeah, it's interesting. You see, the other thing is, you don't go into a new place as if you're entitled. I mean, I'm reminded about, unfortunately, the attitude of the Israeli Jews currently. They're not only occupying lands of other people, but they claim a right over it. So they are anything but friendly and humble about sharing places with other people. It's the arrogance that actually has the backlash and the reaction.
Yeah, therefore, some people come from their hell. They escape to, let's say, to London, to Britain. They want to turn Britain to their land. Correct? They escape from. They say, we want Sharia. Well,
we want Sharia law.
Pakistan, you know what hell it was.
Yeah.
You escape from them. Now you are here free. You want to create the same hell here.
Yeah.
Just relax, a little bit appreciate the laws there, a little bit. That's great. Okay. Would you like to continue, Leslie?
Okay, with 259, yeah?
259.
Yeah.
By the way, your eyeglass has reflection. The reflection once in a while oscillates between either of them. You look like as if you are a pirate. One is
Oh,
Yeah, Leslie, you're hypnotizing us.
all right. Well,
now it is better. Now it is better.
okay, fair enough. All right.
Actually, I need to wear my glasses as well.
But the wicked altered what was said to them into a different saying. Thus we send down upon the wicked an affliction from the sky because they had transgressed.
Uh-oh. This is so jerky. I'm so sorry. I think you see, it's stuck. I'm using cursors. This cursors became a curse. Okay. This one?
I think, okay, we need 260.
Okay. I had his reference to Bible I wanted to show you. And you see, when you click here, you see the biblical verses. It refers you to those. The Quranic verses comes here as a hypertext just projected. But these are also hypertext taking you to BibleGateway.com just to show you this feature. Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Moses was seeking water for his people, so we said, strike the rock with your staff. Thus, 12 springs burst out of it. Each tribe then knew from where to drink. Eat and drink from God's provisions, and do not roam the earth as corrupters.
Okay. Moses bring water out of rocks mentioned in the Old Testament in Numbers. Okay. A major lagging issue. Incredible.
So, Edip, it's quite understandable if they're in the desert, even these days, people find water. They go to the base of a mountain if they're looking for water, because water is usually running underneath mountains. So I think the reference here is strike the rock. It refers to some, base of a mountain, which, will have had water just running underneath. And it would have taken very little effort to gush forth a spring from there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, that miraculous in the sense that, God is performing miracles everywhere for them, because these miracles are there every day for people who
Over
know.
there, it doesn't appear the context of showing miracle.
Yeah.
There are places when extraordinary evidences are sought and asked for. That time sometimes it is shown, but in this context it may not be a miracle. It is just a normal way. For each of you, you have water.
Yeah.
Each group. Okay, 261, please.
Okay, you said, O Moses, we will not be patient to one type of food. So call for us your Lord, that he may bring forth what the earth grows out of its beings, cucumbers, garlic, lentils, and onions. He said, would you trade what is lowly with what is good? Descend to Egypt, there you will find what you want. They were thus stricken with humiliation and disgrace, and they remained under God's wrath, for they were not appreciating God's signs, and killing the prophets with no justification. This is for what they have disobeyed and transgressed.
Interesting. What do you think, Leslie, about qualification of the killing the prophets with no justification? Does it mean that killing prophets, if there is justification, is okay? Is there any kind of justification of killing the prophet?
Yeah, what you said is you could deduce that. I was wondering about exactly the same thing. If you say killing the prophets with no justification, it seems to imply that a person could also kill prophets with justification. But I just don't see any situation in which anybody could kill a prophet with justification.
Well, if prophet goes against law, maybe there is a possibility a prophet aggresses. There are hypothetical. There are those kind of things. If you go against what is revealed to you and correct, which one is it? This one? Okay. And then you will be punished. There is to Prophet Muhammad, if you follow their whims, you will be punished. And therefore, if a prophet would become aggressor and start attacking people, then in that case, in that hypothetical, and you have the right to defend yourself because the prophet has run amok against God's will. There is possibility because they're also human. Mostly it appears to be they have fulfilled their duties, but hypothetically, there is such an option for them to go against God's will. In that case, they will penalize. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right, because there's also Surah 69, verses 44 to 47, where Allah actually threatens the prophet by saying that if he were to invent anything in our name, we would take him by the right hand and cut off his aorta.
Yeah, and also if he can do that kind of sin and crime against God, he could do this one too, in terms of hypothetically. Therefore, hypothetically is there in case they do this, there is an option that you can defend yourself. Therefore, qualification of killing someone, even here in this context, is there is a qualification because for self-defense, you may be killing someone, but of course, you should try to avoid it as much as possible. Human life is very important.
Yeah, there's also some discussion I've heard in the past that Aaron and Moses disappear without any word of what happened to them. And there's some speculation that they were the ones that were killed. And then because they just suddenly disappear and there's no discussion of their death or where nobody knows where they're buried or anything like that. So it might be addressed directly to the Jewish that have this in their knowledge.
I was going to suggest that, once again, killing here doesn't mean killing the messenger. There is this is about killing the message, which is something that, always happened with the prophets and what happened after them. Whenever a prophet messenger came, subsequently people, supplanted that message and inserted their own wishes into it. As we know, this is the history of the world, by the way. Not.
I know, but when you start interpreting every word taking literal out of it, it becomes very too speculative, too esoteric, and
I'm not suggesting that this is to go against the literature, but the thing is, we have no evidence, zero evidence that any of the prophets of God were ever killed by anybody, because God protects them, and they are always successful in the end.
God says you kill the messengers.
Prophet. Yeah. But do we have any history that this has actually happened to any prophet of God?
Well, they did. The Quran says you killed. Of course, that means they killed. And there must be chances like they killed Jesus, correct? But
except they didn't.
Well, again, from God's perspective, from reality, they didn't, but from their perspective, they did. They committed the crime, but God took Jesus' person, didn't let him to experience that horrible event.
Yeah.
But that is two things. For example, God tells Muhammad that you will die and they will die too. إِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتُونَ. But at the same time, those people who say they are dead, innahum amwat, they are telling for people who died in defending freedom, their lives, the mu'mins, those who affirm the truth, those who are peacemakers. When they die, in order to, by insulting them, they died. They were vanished. They lost. In that context, when they say they died, God says, no, don't call them they are dead. Say they are alive in their Lord. Therefore, within the context, if you are using the word dead means they are vanished, they lost forever, then the counter argument is no, yes, but in fact, death for a person who affirmed God, affirmed the truth, that death for that person is being with God. Yes, they are disconnected. Therefore, there is places when people idolize Muhammad, for example, for them, God says, he will die and you will die too. But if you use the word death, or this issue to denigrate their cause, in that time, their being live at God is mentioned. Therefore, the context could change which perspective you look at death. From worldly perspective, messengers, prophets were killed. They are dead. But from God's perspective, from eternal life perspective, they are alive at their Lord and they are rewarded. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. All I'm saying is there is no single instance where we know that God says that such and such prophet was killed. In fact, nearly always God says prophets of God will be successful. They will succeed because God protects them. And he's done that in every story that we know of the prophet.
I think the success maybe, I'm just thinking, maybe the success is not limited with this worldly life. And because I think when the Quran says success overall, this world and hereafter, if something here in this world, let's say victory, success, but really from eternal perspective, it is no success, it is loss. And
well,
therefore,
the Quran says, "Wa-antumul a'lawna in kuntum mu'minin." You will be successful if you are believers.
Well, again, that one also doesn't mean militarily and in every sense that you will be having power. Alone means you are high, you have high ground, you are morally, you are above them, don't feel inferiority complex. That is my understanding. For example, Jesus during his time, he didn't get really the control of the land and power. In fact, there were only few people, correct? And many messengers in the same way. Anyway, this is a subject of too much discussion. Perhaps later we do. One thing I want to go back, whether qualification really means limitation with that thing. For example, do not sell God's message with cheap price. Does it mean the opposite is okay? Means you can sell it with bigger price, greater price. In this case, we say, well, any price is cheap price compared to God's salvation, God's message, correct? Therefore, cheap price, it doesn't mean there is also high price. All price is considered cheap price in the context of God's message, okay? Another this verse, what about, are there examples that we can look? For example, فَلَا يَعْصِينَكَ فِي مَعْرُوفٍ, so that they should not disobey you in ma'ruf. Ma'ruf comes from the word arafa, means known, recognize. In recognized matters, in known facts, he should not, the person who is elected should not make decision opposite of known facts. If they do, you can do rebellion, you can object. Because God says, follow those who you elected in position or you appointed for positions. But it seems there is a qualification there. But someone may say, فَلَا يَعْصِينَكَ فِي مَعْرُوفٍ. Well, I think it is qualification. I think the alternative is, in this case, it's possibility.
Yeah, maruf could also mean, it's something that, as you say, is well recognized and as a respectable solution or a decision or a reasonable one. Because, even in obedience of any law in any country, one of the conditions is reasonable. If the government asks you to do crazy thing, people will rebel and not do it.
Yeah, it seems even for Prophet Muhammad, not as a messenger, but as a leader, this qualification is put by God. Therefore, Muhammad, as a leader of the city-state, Medina means civilization, if he made a decision, is against all known facts, because Arafa Ma'ruf, Gersi, I say, the word urf is distorted as means culture or whatever is prevalent, not necessarily. It could be bad urf in that context. But the word Arafa means know, means something people know objectively, a fact. And going against that fact may trigger right to disobey. Okay. 62, correct? Let's read a few more verses and then finish today, inshallah. I started in a very bad ways. I came from Friday prayer. This time we were at friend's home and we had also lunch. I came rush here and then we had this technical problem.
You've done well, Edip. I think maybe you should have strong coffee in future.
Okay, thank you.
After lunch.
No, that time, usually I'm trying to calm myself down. I'm very, how do you say, hyper.
Agitated.
Normally I'm hyper. I don't need coffee. Right now I'm trying myself to a little bit calm down.
Okay, calm down. Have some herbal tea.
Thank you. Kadir, nice to see you too here.
Nice to see you, Edip.
Okay. Leslie, should we continue, please? Be more active.
Yeah, sure. Okay, 262. Surely those who acknowledge and those who are Jewish and the Nazarenes and those who follow other religions, any one of them who acknowledge God and the last day and promote reforms, they will have their reward with their Lord and no fear over them, nor will they grieve. By the way, this is one of the verses that were allegedly abrogated by the verse of the sword.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately.
They had 120 verses that they claimed were abrogated by verse 5 in Surah number 9. Some people put the number of abrogated peace verses as high as 200. Yeah. That is how they developed the doctrine of jihad al-talab, or aggressive war, which calls on Muslims to fight against non-Muslims, even when the non-Muslims are not fighting against Muslims. Can you believe that?
Can you talk a little bit about the abrogation? They use the words
Nasikh Mansukh.
Chapter 2, verse 106. They translate the word ayat in singular form as God's verse of the Quran, which is a mistranslation, because singular form of ayat is always for miracle, for sign, divine sign, not for verses of the Quran. And by this way, they created the story of abrogation, not the story, one of the most biggest distortion in the Quran. And they basically reject verses of the Quran, many. Yeah.
By the way, Muhammad Asad points out that there's not a single hadith that supports the doctrine of abrogation. And the word nasakh has a secondary meaning, which means to transcribe from one place to another. And one of the first people who rejected the doctrine of abrogation of Quran by the Quran was Abu Muslim Isfahani, who based his rejection of abrogation of Quran by the Quran on the 3 verses in the Quran where Allah says that we will never find a change in the kalim Allah, in the words of Allah. Now the doctrine of abrogation goes totally against it. So it's
there is no contradiction in the Quran. In order abrogation happens, there must be 2 verses. One of them contradict the other.
Correct.
The other must be coming after that one chronologically.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
And some of the ulama even say that the case of abrogation are as high as 500, believe it or not.
Unbelievable.
Yes,
and
exactly.
They even abrogated the verse about, they fabricate a verse, stoning to death, and then they abrogated it through a what? Which animal?
The goat.
Yes.
The hungry goat.
Yes, unbelievable. Oh, I have this book. Look at this. I am moving around. We are moving to another state. Therefore, you see mess on the floor stuff. Here it is. Look at the chance. I was thinking about this. It's just over there. Ibn Qutaybah. This is, I don't know whether you can see it, people. Ibn Qutaybah, this is Ta'wilu Mukhtalaful Hadith. It is in singular form somehow. Tawilu Mukhtalaf al-Hadith. It is about basically compromising, reconciling the contradictory hadith. Yeah. This is trying to save hadith, this book. And in that one about the story of abrogation and how can it be, he doesn't respond really how after Prophet Muhammad, a verse will be taken out of the Quran in terms of literally and still be valid. And then the question is, how can I go eat it and it will be abrogated? It's not divine and Muhammad is not live. Supposedly after Muhammad's death, the verses about stoning people to death and also the verses about breastfeeding adult. There are 2 verses they fabricated, and then they were on a skin. It was they were written on skin, and it was under Aisha's bed. And then one day a hungry goat comes and eat those skins, and therefore abrogate these 2 verses. Therefore, you don't see these verses in the Quran because of the holy goat. And then guess what? His defense, this guy is very highly esteemed guy. He defends hadith. He says, well, God is capable to send a goat, a holy goat, to abrogate his words. Unbelievable.
What they overlook is that Allah promised to protect the Quran. Now they are saying that he didn't do it because the goat interfered with the Quran.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
Why is the goat even in her house and especially in her bedroom? I mean, it seems like nobody would have let a goat in your house.
Oh, come on. That's, I think, a very weak question you are asking. On all times, people did not have locked doors, security cameras, people separate from animals. Come on. They are living in that street. Let's assume they have open door for goats and camels to come to your room. This is the last question I will ask them. But most importantly, the Quran, how can Quran left after Prophet Muhammad taken out? Okay, you say, thank God, God sent a holy goat, ate this horrible 2 terrible instructions. One is barbaric, killing people. The other, let a woman just breastfeed an adult man. And then that man becomes that woman's son. Imagine, just breastfeeding. Hello. This is ridiculous.
Go ahead, sorry.
I said, thank God, that means we are saved by this, correct? No, not so easy, not so fast. They are valid. Literally, they are gone. They flew, but still they are valid. We still will continue stoning people to death. Still, as adults, we'll go breastfeed a woman in order to become their son. Unbelievable.
You know, another thing about this abrogation is that the ulama not only endorsed abrogation of Quran by Quran, but they also accepted the abrogation of Quran by a hadith. Even a solitary hadith, according to the ulama, can abrogate the Quran. Can you believe this?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. These are references to the Old Testament and New Testament. No, Old New Testament. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Therefore, in this verse, we are talking about Nazarenes. If you look at it, the Quran doesn't say Christians and always refer to them as Nasara. Nasara means those who support. Nazarenes really means people who support, a group of people who support the message, the truth. Nasara Yansuru. And Hadu, very interesting, Yahud, but somehow Hadu is a verb that means those who are guided. And we translate as a Jewish, but Jewish people are referred in the Quran, those who are guided, Yahud. But here is Hadu. And really, it is a verb, means those who are guided. But it refers to children of Israel. When Nasara. Was Sabi'in. Sabi'in is being translated as what?
Sabians.
Sabians and stuff. And when I studied this, I found out it's really not. There is no a sect or a religion called Sabi'in. Sabi'in means in older Arabic, I studied it, it means anyone who leaves the religion, established religion to another religion. Usually it is used in negative way like heretics. If your religion, you leave to another religion, it's called Sabah. For example, for Prophet Muhammad, the Meccan idol worship, they say Muhammad Sabah became Sabi, became heretic, left our religion. Therefore, the Quran, it encompasses all other people who live as a religion, their parents' religion, to any other religion. And therefore says the minimum condition of salvation, they need to believe in God, means trust God, one God. With the context of the Quran, you cannot have God plus Muhammad, God plus Jesus, one God. And then hereafter, and also serve a good life. Good life means a good human being helping others. And there is no problem for them. Therefore, if a person doesn't need really to even believe in the Quran or Muhammad or Jesus, and this is a person, but if a person hears their message, as such a person who believes in one God in hereafter is a good mind, good heart, there's no reason for that person to object their message. But let's say a person has not heard the message of the messengers or the book, or heard it in a wrong way. The way Sunnis depict Muhammad's message is horrible. And person who really believes in God will say these things cannot be from God. And God will not send a messenger who kills people, gouges people's eyes with things, stone people to death, and oppress women, and have kind of very horrible things that associated to attribute to Muhammad. Okay, therefore this one is what God expects from us, minimum.
Might be a good place to stop, Edip.
Yeah, let's stop here. I think we are done. MashaAllah. Let me get out of here. A few minutes, we can a little bit.
If I find it, I'll call you. A pad? Okay.
Anything going on with you, Leslie?
Well, I had to extend the publication of my book a little bit because I ran into some glitches. but I hope that I will soon sort them out. You see, one of the justifications for waging war against non-Muslims, even when they don't attack the Muslims, that was given by the militant ulama like Sayyid Qutb and Maududi, was a combination of two verses, one in Surah Luqman, which refers to shirk as a great zulm, and the other one, verse 193, the last part of which says that there shall be no udwan, hostility, except against the zalimin. So now you see the scholars, they replace the word udwan, hostility, with fighting, and they interpret that verse to mean that there shall be no fighting except the people who are zalimin. And since they equate zulm with disbelief, they say that this verse, those two verses, justify fighting non-Muslims even when the non-Muslims are not attacking the Muslims. So you see, this is another example of very bad tafsir. What they do, they replace words, they change the meaning, because udwan means enmity, it does not mean, fighting. So you can actually have enmity towards a person without fighting him, you see. So I picked up this tip from actually Shahrur's book, Muhammad Shahrur's book called Quran, Morality and Critical Reason. It's available online in PDF format. I highly recommend it. This analysis is found in chapter 6. Thank you.
MashaAllah, very beautiful. And I'm looking at right now in Malaysia, I would like to, just a few days ago, someone from Malaysia talked to me, and I was trying to find his name to put you in touch. If you want, should I send their phone numbers to you, or can I give you your phone numbers to some people in Malaysia?
Well, I would like to see the name first. Who is the person? I know quite a few of the Quran-centric people here because I used to be part of a group here for that.
Okay. I will send you, inshallah, a few of them, and you check. If you want to contact them, you can do.
Sounds good. Yeah.
MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum, people.
Wa
Thank you
alaikum
very
salam.
much, Tanweer, for joining us. Carl, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum.
And I didn't announce it, therefore this is small, but inshallah next time, ahead of time I announce, I invite people, I send them the link.